because we are now doing this all through computer-based things. But please, if you have any recommendations, I like talking about this. I teach a lot of players. I stop a lot of players from teaching other players and intervene very frequently. Which we'll get to my gold rule in a second, which is something I love. If you don't know what that is the blue lantern symbol. If you have a problem with that, I like hope. Hope is great. If you like DC, cool. If not, I'm sorry. I'm Joshua Hudson now. I'm a level 1 from central Pennsylvania. I'm hoping to change that and become a level 2 here up in, we're going down to, Baltimore for the open test there because my area is fresh with a ton of L1s, which means we fire no BBTQs. It's great. Not really. So no video. So the fun video was a great thing of, I'll just give a description very shortly. A new player walks up and she is like, hey, I want to finish a pickup game. Does anyone want to help me? I'm just learning how to play. So the new player sits down and goes, sure, I will teach you, come play with me, and sets out this lovely playmat with this lovely deck, and she sets down her lovely unsleeved deck and plays down her Temple of Abandon and scries 1 as the opponent passes to the, or as she goes, okay, your turn, as the opponent goes Mox Jet, Sapphire, into a Dark Ritual, into another Dark Ritual, into a Black Lotus, Crack Lotus, into a Yawgmoth's Will, to Ritual, Lotus, Kraken, actually for Tendrils for lethal. It's much funnier to see. But obvious bad description of I'm learning, who wants to play with me, let's get out the fresh vintage deck that is going to kill you. So my golden rule is teaching, don't tell. One thing that I see a lot whenever players are teaching new players or telling them is the golden rule of always hold the guide. That's always I mean, it's not really a rule, but the idea behind you always want to lightning bolt the Goblin Guide with the trigger on the stack. So, assuming here that we have 2 legacy players and one plays Volcanic Island into Goblin Guide to attack, the other player goes, okay, well I'll play my Volcanic Island, and then you pass back, not thinking strategically that, oh well I should lightning bolt it now. I'll wait and see if I can get a trigger off of it, but oh no, my opponent has days. I can pick up the island and now free counter spells for days. But, so the idea behind, all these roles that like we encompass, we tell one another, as opposed to bringing to the conclusion of how to think strategically that yes, while lightning bolt might be an instant, there are inopportune times, and whenever you're educating players, you want to avoid these like things that are advanced strategies to not get them in this type of mindset whenever they're trying to learn the game and become new to it. So items that I have come up with that are very good items to teach with, especially new players. I have increased these in cost to both you and the player because cost is a definite factor with this. Wizards official trial decks. Does everybody know what those are? Or does anybody not know what those are? Okay, good. So there are these basic breakdown. They're a 40 card deck, 40 or 30 card deck that official tournament stores receive from Wizards, usually annually. I don't know, does anybody know how they're doing it? Because they used to do it at core set releases. So I don't know if they're going to continue doing anything. Do you know?
Shadow's getting one.
Okay.
Marked like 2016, I think.
Okay.
They're like weird stuff, but they're not doing it though.
Okay, good. Because I was like, well, before it was like, oh, they used to always come out at the core set time, and now we don't have core sets. So these are free, obviously good teaching mechanics that they should just be behind the counter. They don't have any comment boxes or great things, which is what comes to my 60 card fun deck, which is your excess draft stuff. My next one I priced out about $75, but it was random stuff I had lying around. Yes, it's a little costly, and mine's a little bit more competitive, but I also like having an extra deck on hand to be, oh, okay, I would like to play in the standard FNM tonight, but I don't have a deck. Well, now you do. Here's 75 random cards that I have. Might not win you the game, but they're good cards. So if you play well, you might win, a couple packs. So that's something I like to keep on hand. Very low cost, especially if you draft a lot. If you judge at the store and you're like, hey, I would like to help something to teach players. Can I steal these $3 of $20 commons? I've rarely encountered stores that don't have a problem with that. So moving on to pre-constructed decks, which are $15 a piece. They're very good for the other side of things, so it helps a lot of players get into the game where they are able to start it, plus they get a couple packs out of it. Dual decks are great. We just had the dual decks of the Geisa Saint Draft and the new demon. What was it? Blessed versus Cursed. So those are something that I would recommend for our side of things because those are two good decks to start off with. And if there's two people, it would be good for them to learn. If a brother and a sister or something learning, or two friends, it's great for them because they can split the cost of something $20 and it's very low impact on their wallets. And then last is Duels of the Planeswalkers or Mythico. This is a little bit more advanced because Duels of the Planeswalkers they're what, $15 to $20 on Steam. And various other Xbox Live and other ways. But it helps teach through a manner where they won't be making their own mistakes. And the same with Mythico. I wouldn't recommend Mythico to new people, but if you and a friend happen to have something and you have pauper decks or something randomly on your accounts that you're able to be like, okay, well, pull up your laptop, we'll pull up mine, and we'll teach you side by side, what to do. It doesn't allow them to the technological world doesn't allow them to make their own errors in thinking because the programming doesn't allow it. So it has its pluses, but it also has the downside of things. So this is a deck that I came up with that I have lying in my bag. I just adjusted it the other day because I know rotation is coming. But I added a bunch of different things, especially for teaching things, because now we have man lands. So I was like, well, I'm blue-red, well, so we can add in Wandering Ephemeral. That's definitely good teaching, especially whenever people are getting in, they're probably going to be learning about standards, so I try to incorporate a bunch of standard things. So we have Wandering Ephemeral, different things like Flush of Currents has Awaken, and Ochitai's Breath has Rebound, so good standard mechanics that they're going to run into at their FNM. So if you're teaching somebody new, you don't want to start off by teaching players, what random mechanic they want to back in Legacy. They don't care. They want to know what they're going to be running into whenever they're playing, and plus you're going to overwhelm them. But you have creatures, different things. We have, the reason that this is $75 is because the Hangerback Waters is literally the only large thing, but I put in Ghost Fireblade because it's an equipment. It allows them to teach about a different type of card that we have, and all these different things. Warlord Rogue has activated abilities, and Reckless Bushwhacker has the Surge. Has Surge, but yeah. So it doesn't have all the mechanics that they're going to run into in standard, but it has probably a good couple common ones that they're going to walk into, especially if they're walking into their first standard episode. So these are my recommendations for whenever you're meeting a new player. A couple-minute discussion that in the back of your head. I'm sure everyone can come up with the color pie chart and give me an explanation of, that white, you're going to see a lot of more Aven creatures, maybe a couple more flyers than you are. Green, you're going to see some reaching spiders and some other large creatures. That you're going to have black zombies and white angels and blue merfolk. Just give people a general idea. At that point, they should have an idea of a science fiction world that they atone to. So players like angels, players like demons, players, they like sorcerers, they like controlling things. You can be like, well, you would probably like black magic, you would probably like white magic, and you could probably suit them into something that their character suits in that grasps them, because teaching a person who likes zombies all about these giant primeval titans is going to get bored very quickly. It's also good to sit down and do a playthrough of them. Find out what they know from other trading card games. I don't know how familiar people are with other trading card games. I used to be a store owner, and I'm in a store that has support for Cardfight Vanguard, has support for Yu-Gi-Oh!, has support for Magic and Pokemon, and all these games, and they at least have 4 to 6 players on their off nights to 8 to 10 players on their respective, their gaming nights. So if they're transitioning, a lot of players overlap. So you'll see some of the people who play Yu-Gi-Oh! Also play Magic. Some people who play Pokemon also are playing Cardfight Vanguard. So they when learning a new trading card game, it's good to incorporate their knowledge of the old card game, but only as long as you understand what's going on in that old card game. It's good not to assume what they would know, because I have a chart coming up here shortly. You'll see that some things are not what you might think that they are. Walking them through each step. Talk to them what happens in this. It's like, all right, we're going to begin your turn. You're going to untap all of your permits. Okay, now we have an upkeep. This is usually irrelevant, but if we have something that says that we do something, then draw and continue them, walk them through, especially combat, because combat is going to be the most difficult thing for a new player to understand, because Magic's combat system is unique. It is super unique. And then talking about the different instances of sorceries, it is a good thing that they can cast them at any time versus that it has to be the main phase. And minorly talking about the stack, I have a link, but I don't have access to the internet. Does everybody know the washing plates analogy for the stack? Cool. So I think it's MTG Salvation. They have a GIF of it. Is the link to it. So how they describe the stack is a brother and sister are dark dishes. The brother puts on a dish, the sister puts on a dish, the brother puts on a dish, the sister puts on a dish, the sister puts on a dish. So dishes are a great explanation of the stack because you can't pull the one under the bottom without removing the ones on the top first. So finding things like that to help new players, understand things, and it gives a good visual understanding that we have to take the top plate off and deal with the top plate before we get to the fourth, to the third, to the first. Talking about abilities can be a lot. There are over 110. There's a lot. Some more relevant than others. Another thing is that overwhelming new players can be very fearsome. It's a lot to take in. Everyone here should know that Magic rules is nothing simple to come by, but just giving them the bare basics to play their starting game. I have flyers, I have creatures, I have just a few things. Just giving them the basics, the knowledge of the rest of it comes. This is my comparison of Magic to every other I looked at Pokemon, to every other game out there. So some games don't even have a stack. Hearthstone's a new edition. I don't know much about Hearthstone. Apparently a lot of Magic players love it. It's great. But there's no stack in both Pokemon or Hearthstone. Force and Will both, Yu-Gi-Oh! Both have it, and they both interact differently. All pretty much call it a deck because our rulings say that our library becomes our deck after that. Graveyards are discard piles. Where things start to get really interesting is at the dying mechanic and the exiling is banishing in Yu-Gi-Oh!, which is safe to assume, and it's banishing and force of will. Banishing and force of will is sacrificing. So this was my point of don't assume you know from what they might know. Banishing is exiling in Yu-Gi-Oh! Banishing sounds a lot like an exile mechanic to me, but it doesn't in the force of will world. And then a breakdown of the combat. So we have one step, one attack with one blocks, and then damage. Yu-Gi-Oh! Has one step to attack, but they change if they have 3 monsters, they change their attacks, you do one at a time. Pokemon has no defensive mechanic whatsoever. It's I go to my attack step, it does the attack, we're done. And then Force of Will and both Hearthstone have no dedicated combat step. The turn is a turn. You do what you want to in the turn. You can play new things, you can attack, you can play new things, you can attack. And that's how they handle those games. So combat is going to be the trickiest thing whenever coming from a new game to Magic. Abilities that I like to touch on that they want to know is scrying is what I have on the first, and a lot of people argue with me that I should regard it as high, but it's now a mechanic of the game. We now have to scry at the beginning if our hand sizes are less than 1. So now that it is an evergreen ability, I feel like it is probably one of the most important ones. Whenever players are learning the game, that mulliganing is going to happen, but you get this benefit of scrying, and then you're going to see that scrying is going to be on other cards. And then teaching Flying, Reach, Vigilance, Trample, your evergreen abilities are going to be something that's relevant as they come up. if they're getting into a format that they want, it's probably good to start off with things that they might encounter. Unfortunately, Affinity no longer is Affinity, it's Metalcraft. So teaching them what Metalcraft is before Affinity might be an easier way to bring them into the new things so that they're not getting overwhelmed in Modern. Standard, we have Dash, Rally, Devoid, Cohort, Awaken, etc. So these are abilities that are going to be relevant to them. And draft start with the upgrades, and then you know what's in the set. You know you're going to have Awaken and Battle for Zendikar. You know that if they're going to be drafting Shadows, that they don't have to worry about anything that we know about Standard today. And nobody needs to know about Art Rampage. Art Rampage? Bonus points to nobody. Somebody knows what Art Rampage is.
Do you
Do you know what Art Rampage is?
Yeah.
What is it?
You get a bonus for every creature that attacks or blocks against that shares the same artist.
No. you get an additional +1/+1 on your creature for each creature in the art beyond the first. It's unsets, who cares? It's funny. People will laugh. And then make the game exciting. It doesn't always have to be serious. Find out what they're into. Music is big. You know, everybody loves music. Find out if they like Steven Universe, if that's what you're into. You know, if you like playing the Pokemon game, you know, and you see them playing with their DS, you know, talk to them about that. Say that you have yours in your bag, or you'll bring yours next time, and then you guys can play Magic together, and then you can trade Pokemon or battle. And you know, incorporate what you bring into life to these new players, because it's a social game, it's a social activity, and we should be incorporating. Excuse me. We should be incorporating the social aspect of this, because new players aren't going to be hyper competitive, and that's something to really bring ourselves back from whenever we're educating new players, because we're so used to this hyper competitive. Did you make sure that they weren't cheating scene to, of course they're not cheating, they're new players, they just want to have fun, or they might just want to be sitting around and play EDH with their friends at a kitchen table, so they might not care about all the roles, and they just want to learn the basics of the game, and then the rest of it will in. And just have fun with it. I mean, it's Friday Night Magic, it's game store stuff, and you know, you're not going to be traveling to GPs with these people next week, so get back into your old tabletop, you know, fun selves of, you know, 12-year-oldness, if you guys remember those days. So does anybody have anything to add to this, to bring to the table?
Something that I found helpful, and actually when I was teaching my brother, is I wrote out the steps and phases for him. I just wrote them. So he wouldn't have to ask me every time, he could learn instead of just me telling him. And it actually kind of worked.
No, that is good. Somebody had a playmat that was up in discussion about whether or not judges should allow it, but it was like everything, you know, it was the one section of the playmat that was the problem, but I had like everything, like, you know, from library to discard pile to exile to the phases were, it was the steps. It was the steps that was the problem, because we weren't sure, because it was, remember, it was untap, upkeep, draw, it had everything listed out that, you know, so, well, why do we care about that anyways? It's not that big of a problem, but something like that on a playmat, if you have a spare white playmat or something that they want to get, and help them write it out or give it to them, that's a good idea. Does anyone have any problems with teaching new players? I knew that last time we talked up in Boston, there was a guy, he had problems outreaching to people. Does anybody have problems outreaching to different groups of people?
I find that an important thing when you're teaching somebody is, you know, your goal really isn't to teach them how to play the game, it's to get them to love it as much as the rest of us do.
Absolutely.
And to want to stay with it. And I know that the way that I was taught was really awful for me, because I was thrown in to a community with just a bunch of people who knew the game so well. Mm-hmm. And they were all rules lawyers who were always saying, like, oh yeah, you missed that.
Oh, absolutely.
It's gone, it's done. And, you know, you're dead and this, and you know, it's frustrating. And I find that when I'm I haven't taught very many new players, but I had one guy who was so into the technicality of it, that's all we talked about.
Yeah.
Within like an hour, the guy was asking me about card advantage and using your life as a resource. And I mean, he's really interested in those details. But then, you know, you teach somebody else and, they're really focused on the artwork and they're more ortho, so they want the foils and stuff. And I think it's just important to understand what the person wants out of the game and try to gear your instruction towards that.
Absolutely.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I absolutely. I remember there was a young lady I taught, and she was very smart, and she learned the game very quickly. But the thing that she liked to do a lot is if me and you were playing, and let's say I'm a 20 and you're a 20, it would be to sign and look. And that's fine, that's fine for a new player. Like, you lose 2 life. This card says black, you lose 2 life. I don't care that you're drawing 2 cards. But, after a month of playing, and she understood the game a lot more, it was easy to, be like, well, don't you want to draw the 2 cards? And she's like, I never even thought of that. I never even thought that, this card could draw me 2 cards. I always played it as you lose 2 life. With benefit. So yeah, I mean, you can, overwhelm new players with hyper competitiveness, which is, going back to what I was talking about, that's great. Sure.
I feel it's worth pointing out that rules these days is free to play unless you want to foil out your entire deck for some reason. But the other thing I found using that as a
Those little planeswalkers?
That's great.
they
Yeah.
rebranded it as Magic Duels, and they're continually updating this version instead of re-releasing every so
Okay.
So they made it to a free-to-play model. It is more, for most people, they never have to pay unless they wanted extra boosters or they want to foil out their deck. So on one hand, it's very good at teaching basic mechanics, but on the other hand, there's some UI decisions that confuse new players, and there's the basic disfluency of transitioning from a digital environment to paper.
Absolutely.
And if you give me the option between having them shell out for reconstruction using demo decks or breaking out duels on a laptop, I would break out duels before the free comps, but I would try to have as many demo decks on hand as possible, just because it seems to be such a superior way of teaching the game.
Absolutely, but I mean, every player is different. I mean, they're going to learn in different mechanics. If somebody is, used to playing online games all the time, and they're transitioning to this cardboard format, why am I sitting down and playing with these, 20 other people in a room whenever we could all be on the computer? I mean, it is a good like central thing for certain people, maybe not most, but that's a good point. Sure. Restructuring. I'm looking at you. No, I'm pointing to you.
So I think one of the points he's just made is that the environment he started playing Magic in wasn't very suitable. I think, that's as our leadership role in our communities, that's one of the things that we have some responsibility over there. So I think it's as well as assessing what kind of environment the player wants to play. I mean, I've seen your presentation as how to get non-new players into standard.
Well,
that's my
a lot of people that are going to learn this game from the start, unless they have a steady income. I've taught a lot of younger kids, a lot of teenagers. The cheapest, and I know it is becoming a more expensive format, but the cheapest and easiest format to get into is standard.
Kitchen table is one of the cheapest.
Well, yes, but like in a format that like a store is going to support, it is that you have trial decks on hand, or not trial decks, you have the pre-constructed decks on hand. The stores are going to be flush with packs of this stuff. They may not be able to buy the singles, but they're going to be opening their, spending their $20 allowance or whatever on 5 to 6 packs of Magic at their local store and cracking, Magic Origins, not Mirrored.
By the way, I think they're more likely to, no, that's not true. Everybody's different. I mean, there are a number of players that want to get into playing competitively, and trying to take them in that way is appropriate. There's also a huge number of players that want to play, 10-player games with all their friends and things like that. And then they will want to buy packs and improve their decks, so that they're also useful customers to a store. They're not the point that they've learned. They can buy a box on that and maybe buy versions instead. Or buying that property. So I mean, and that kind of game, you know, Commander games introduced an enormous diversity of rules interactions that you'll just never see in construction. And I would like to. I mean, Wizards as well has decided they want to see more to the giant. I think one of the reasons.
I'm sorry, I missed the two of what?
They want to see more two-headed giant.
Oh, yeah.
So that's why everyone was mandated for Overwatch to actually run to this one, right?
I don't know if they were mandated. I know that they were.
It was highly suggested.
Yeah. I was gonna say I don't think it's really.
It was such a big part of the format of the game. It's pushing it hard.
I mean, I think one of the reasons for that is, you know, you can have a team, even if the team is actually two new players, they can still build on what they each other individually.
Absolutely.
So I mean, I think that's
the idea behind this is that someone is coming up to you with either little knowledge of trading card games, knowledge of another trading card game, or that they are either fresh off I want to start playing this because I saw all my friends playing it at lunch, or I saw kids down at the local center at my college or something, or it's something my son is doing and I would like to learn how to do it with building the mechanics of. We should be teaching, flying and all this other stuff that they're, is more the base, because Magic is essentially a pyramid of knowledge, and competitive is at the top, right? But you have to have the basis blocks of your evergreens, and then you have your set specifics, and because
I mean, totally, I understand that those are the people. It's great to send them off with an intro deck and a couple of packs to improve their intro deck.
Yeah. But as a hobbyist, though, people, this game is a hobby. People, well, some people, and they waste a ton of money, but normal, regular people, they don't dive into the deep end. They stick their toe in first, right?
Yeah.
So they want to, use as little of their income to start out as possible, and then branch off and be like, okay, well, I am liking this as my hobby. A $400 Force of Will doesn't sound terrible anyways. Did you have?
I have a kind of a question for you.
Sure.
So notice at the beginning you mentioned that you teach players, but you also learn your players teaching other players who are teaching them. To what extent do you insert yourself in the stopping of teaching around? But also what extent would you stop yourself from a player who's basically, for lack of a better word, they enjoy picking up new players. They'll bring that vintage deck along against the brand new player because they're just like, this deck is sweet. I want to show them, and I want them to be able to handle this toughness.
I mean, the idea behind the video was an over exaggeration of what knowledge.
There's a gentleman in one of my local stores.
I understand people are like that, but the idea to learn format is that maybe you shouldn't be bringing Scape Shift to teach a new player their aggro deck. Like maybe you shouldn't be playing this. Can you get to game 5? Maybe you should be giving them more interaction. Depending on the person, I know someone specifically that I would intervene almost immediately that they should not be a person teaching. But if they're sitting down with their friends or something, let them play their game. If you think that they're teaching in an okay way, but maybe giving them some bad habits, so to speak, that they maybe recommend that they come in and play with you sometime. Like, hey, I'm here setting up for Friday Night Magic, every day or every Friday at 6. Why don't you come out around at 5 and we can sit down and we can play a game, and then branch off of that. But the few players that are like that, I would actively settle in, to step in.
One of the events I attended at a store in Texas was a learn to play event where they handed out those 30 card packs that you talked about. And they actually had a really good turnout. It was something like 12 people showed up, and they did like this little tournament where everybody played each other with little packs with more experienced players standing over their shoulders, kind of walking them through, okay, this is the combat step, and this happens, and he decides how he wants to block, and this guy has to fly, and you kind of go through it live in real games. And what really made the thing successful was every time somebody won, they gave them a booster pack to cut into their little 30 card deck, and everybody had a good time with it. And the retention rate, or whatever you want to talk about, like all those people became regulars, I think.
Yeah.
They all came back.
That's neat.
So I think coordinating with your LGS for beginner style tournaments is a really good way to get people into the game.
That's a very good idea.
I mean, adding on to that, that's the kind of thing that we've done when we have the lists, funds, places at Comic Con and at PAX, things like that. The events would run at PAX well, Tom Shanahan ended up with a major bonus for mini last tournaments. Shuffle through basically into a booster pack and play that. Pack each round. But we also ran an intro pack, maybe it was intro pack versus packs, tournament that we got 30, 40 players.
Yeah.
They had a blast.
That's interesting.
But that's the kind of tools that spell a good game.
I agree.
There was a loading ready run. They did a thing after. There was one guy who was really obsessed with them, and they did a what is it? What's the open face draft? Rochester. They did it on there, and that actually gave the one idea to make a cube out of the comments, because apparently a Rochester out of the it was it RT or what was it? It was one of the sets, like all the comments was like 2 over the perfect amount for an 8-man draft. So he actually made a cube for drafting in our local store, which was an interesting thing because a couple people were like, oh, we don't know what drafting is, and learning all stuff. And actually, I think there was 3 of our judges there, and 3 new people, plus a couple people that were just like, that sounds like fun. So we just looked it up and we drafted for an afternoon. So that's good. I didn't even think about it. That's a very good event idea.
Rochester draft we can talk about it.
Well, yeah, well, we didn't do that. We didn't do a Rochester draft. We just sleeved up and, distributed some. But
I've done that with the first time draft.
Everyone's hungry. Everyone's ready for lunch.
Sure. One thing I like to do with players in my shop or regulars, I like to kind of pinpoint some people that I really feel teach well.
Mm-hmm.
And I also, on the other side, have the list of people that I really don't want new players to play against.
Yeah.
They come up first round and you're just going, oh God, this is going to be terrible. Because they're the super aggressive. But I actually, 2 weeks ago, we had a new player come down to our shop for the first time, and one of the super aggressive players got to the first round. And then afterwards, she came up to me and said, wow, I learned a lot from that. I walked over to the guy and asked him, he goes, I took it to heart the other day when he told me that I'm a little too aggressive with new players. And it's like, okay. So it's, sometimes you see people that you don't want doing it, but if you take the time to talk to them, all of a sudden they'll feel great. It's actually a really surprising thing.
I think that takes a certain kind of person, but yes.
Yeah, it just blew my mind that all of a sudden something I thought was going to end terribly bad was actually a great learning experience. Now players do that every week for nothing else. Oh, that's good. Yeah, great. So sometimes we kind of make assumptions of people we spend way too much time around.
Oh, no, absolutely. I don't have any judge. Well, I mean, the only other judge in my area is the local store owner, so he doesn't travel with me. So whenever I do travel, I'm traveling in a car with 3 other people. And every person that ever comes in a car with me, I would trust. You get hyper competitive at events, that's fine. But I would always feel uncomfortable. I would never feel uncomfortable putting a new player across the table from them.
Yeah,
but
if you're getting in my car, you're somebody I trust.
But But whenever I say that there's a few people that are like that, I'm not thinking of hyper competitive people. I'm thinking of people who are the on tilt, super salty. I can't believe this is happening to me. Like,
Yeah, in our shop, they kind of go hand in hand. If you're the super aggressive, all of a sudden you're the one getting super salty and eating because you got eaten by something you shouldn't have.
that's interesting. No, it's just funny to see another side of the coin because I guess that my hyper competitive scene is actually very lax. They're very chill. But no, that's good that if talking to a person can turn them completely around, then sometimes it's a moment of stepping outside of yourself and viewing what you're doing, especially sure, take Eminem competitively whenever you're up against your best friend, whatever, I'm gonna bump you to the ground. But the 12-year-old kid that just wants to come in and play Magic, chill off. Sure.
I just think it's important when you're across the table with a new player.
Yeah, I can't hear you. What's up?
I was just going to say that I think it's important when you're sitting across the table with a new player to not necessarily go easy on them, but you can still play your game and play your deck, but also let them interact. I think that's really important.
Oh no, absolutely. That's why whenever I had the deck design in mind, it's not this is by no means going to tear down an open.
Yeah.
But I made it strong enough that I feel comfortable handing it off to somebody that they're not going to be demoralized at the end of Eminem going 0-3. But they might go 2-1 or 1-2 with it, because who knows what's going to happen in those games. But the idea that you do want to give a little bit of pressure.
Yeah.
Is a good mindset to have, that you don't want to back off the gas entirely.
You don't want to let them maybe. You do want to tell them.
Maybe just a little bit.
Those are decks you let them win.
I actually have a question.
What's up?
I first was exposed to Magic back in Urza's Saga, and everybody had those little rule books. You remember that?
Yeah.
It was coming all the products.
I started back in 6th edition. I know exactly
And
what
then I
you're
got
talking
back
about.
into it more recently, and I was like, where's the rule book? What resources? So my question is, what kind of resources are available when someone has a question about something? Where can I look up what lifelink is, or what I mean? Besides a list of the rules.
I mean, outside of telling people to, that's the problem. Like I said, there's over 110 keyword abilities. Thank you, Future Sight, for 20 of those. If you don't know, do you know what Future Sight was?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. There's a whole bunch of sets that that's on my laptop. I actually broke down all the abilities to see in order what they were. There was at the bottom of the sub 20 were 5. There was 5, and all of Magic that referenced them. So, unfortunately, giving somebody a rulebook that has all of these things in it, it's just overly extensive. And I think with the creation of the internet, we veered away from physical forms of these costly items. I don't know if you remember, when did you get out of it?
When?
Yeah.
Oh, it was just that one block.
Okay. Because fat packs used to be drastically different whenever I was a kid. You got the rule book, you got a book of lore, you got 4 packs of Magic, 2 boxes, 2 of the long boxes that were that panoramic scene. But it always came with the rule book. But now I think we're at a point where the rules are, they've just gotten to a point where
they changed so much. But
I think that even looking at beta, the original beta rules say that the rulebooks say that we should always be playing with your lands in front of everything. So the rules change all the time, and I think it's just how much we change and update things that physical manifestations of our rulebook just become obsolete so quickly that the internet has just allowed us to take away that.
So if someone asks you, hey, where can I look stuff up when I need to know? That's what you would recommend? Just Google it?
Well, ask a player. Hey, here, add me on Facebook. Message me anytime. Hey, this guy, or I don't know if you guys have Facebook checks. I'm a part of 7 Facebook chats that is between the 3 sources that I judge as their competitive environment to judging and all this other stuff. And be like, hey, are you a part of our store's Facebook group? Message us on Facebook. Be like, hey, hey, what's lifelink? How does it work? Or if you guys have Facebook groups or something, Facebook groups are great to, keep people, keep them hidden, but be like, hey, did somebody tell you that our store has a Facebook group of players? Then we talk, and we'll, send us something. The easiest thing, Google what does life link do in Magic. If you don't feel like asking anybody, go to Google search.
I will note that as far as Google goes, they still do on their website have a PDF format of a basic rulebook updated to, I want to say, M15 that has all the evergreens, all the basic parts of the tournament. And you can run that off, and it's in every supported language. They also, but I think they kind of hide it away because I think they're trying to get that information onto the mothership itself, and that learn to play link on it will regurgitate much of the same information, except in the web page format as in the PDF. But if you can get the PDF and if you have a copy, you can give them a copy of that rule. It's a really great resource, especially for all the other viewers.
I think it's overwhelming for a new player.
Well, once you get into it, I'm not saying you should just give them wrong as a reference for it, because it'll just start through the basics, it's decent, and then at the back it'll have the.
If they download it, they can probably control F in it.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
That's why I didn't go. That's why I didn't go to the competitive rulebook. I'm like, that's terrible.
They're searchable apps.
It's only a couple pages long, and it's a lot shorter than the comprehensive. It's very.
Oh, okay. I'm with you now. I thought we were talking about that.
It's not the comprehensive, I guess. It's just the basic.
Yes, okay, I hear you.
F15 and all the distributor packs.
Yeah, but that might not have some of the different mechanics too, especially when it's only updated at 15.
It only covers core stuff. It doesn't cover anything.
Yeah, but it sounds like that's slowly becoming obsolete if they didn't update it to Origins.
Yeah, I don't think that's only model.
Because that would neglect Scry as an evergreen mechanic and all these other things. Sure, on the back.
Yeah, if you're talking about somebody who, maybe not their first time playing, but somebody who's been a couple weeks and they're trying to get into the game, they're like, oh yeah, I know the basic mechanics, but I need to know what this keyword does or whatever. MTG Familiar is an app for the Android that I used for a really, really long time when I had an Android. And it has searchable stuff, any keyword that you can want, you can just search for. You can search for any rule. It also has card lookups and life counters, and so it's relevant for new players as well. It's not just some app that they're only going to keep on their phone and open up a keyword. Something that they can keep by their table and use it for a life counter for you and your opponent or whatever. And they can also use it for looking at prices of cards. If somebody is at a shop tracking packs and a spiky player comes in and sees, oh wait, you just got a foil Jace Prodigy, let's trade. Let me give you a couple of these big green creatures, in exchange. Then it's something that they can use as a reference to look up that stuff as well. So it's just an all-around great app for new players. Again, maybe not something that you're like, oh, this is your first time playing, you're done with this app. But after you've seen them a couple times in the shop, then probably a good idea to have something like that on there.
What was that? MTG Familiar?
Yeah, MTG Familiar. It's only for Android. Unfortunately, they don't have it for iPhone. I don't know why. It's such a great app.
There's a bunch of, if it gives you prices, that's great. There's a bunch of PDFs online too.
And I was going to say, now that we're starting to talk about card prices, I think a very important thing to talk to new players about is how not to get ripped off.
Oh, yeah.
I hate it when that happens, especially to younger players.
Yeah.
And it just takes 5 minutes to explain to them.
I think that's a community-wide thing that we should be, addressing.
I agree.
Whenever we did the two-headed giant, it was the two-headed giant event. And whenever we did the pre-release before that, one of the first things that was mentioned was now there are full art foil land cards in this set that happen to be worth a lot of money. So if you open one of these, maybe ask, one of the judges or something, what the relative value of the things you just opened were, because there was 6 hands that went up.
I remember one game store,
one for store employees and all that.
One of the shops I used to go to at pre-release, they would actually post a price guide. Something like anything that was worth more than $2, they just post the whole thing right there. So that people were aware.
Yeah.
If you call it your Bibles.
Yeah.
I think that's a community-wide thing that I think we all need to address, not just new players, but anyone as well.
I think a good thing is if it's a limited event. They'll do like a chase where they just give them free $3 sleeves. And you kind of like get their personal sleeves. And also, with them, like, a lot of these cards can be very valuable.
Yeah.
It's costing scratch $50 there or something.
Oh, come on, you don't want to go out on the asphalt and grab black notices for graders? Okay. I think we're pretty much closing up to lunchtime unless anybody has anything else. Want to talk? Thank you guys for coming.